It's February and once again it's time to see what's new in Home Assistant 2025.2. Let's start in a couple of seconds. Before we dig into this feature-packed release of Home Assistant, two disclaimers. First one, I just arrived home a couple of minutes ago from partying and I had a beer or two or maybe even three, so apologies if, it seems a bit different today. We were celebrating the second place and of course the silver medal for the Croatian men handball team. The second disclaimer is, as always, this video is recorded on the beta release of Home Assistant. More or less everything you see in this video may end up or probably will end up in the future release, but as always there may be some last minute changes and something may get pulled out. Now let's dig into what's new. Last release of Home Assistant brought us the update to the backup system. This was actually something that was supposed to happen in the December of 2024, but due to some technical reasons it was pushed to January. The change is, in my opinion, really great, but there were some negative perspectives from some of the users. The most requested change was to disable encryption, and it is partially disabled. So let's get started with that. If you go to the backups, configure backup settings, there are some changes here. We will be looking at others in a moment, but let's for example look at this one here. We have option to use this system, local backup that is located directly in Home Assistant, and the second one is cloud. If we tick on the cogwheel, here you will have option to turn off encryption. That means that you can select per device or per location if you want to allow encryption or if you want to enable encryption, which is enabled by default, or you want to disable encryption. If, for example, I turn it off here, all the future backups that are located directly on Home Assistant will not have encryption. On the other hand, if we look at Nabucasa, no, if you are using Nabucasa and have backup in the cloud, you are not allowed to disable this encryption. This is for the sake of your data and privacy of your data that is located in cloud, but also for the benefit of Nabucasa. That way, nobody will ever be able to tell that somebody from Nabucasa was looking at your data. And this is not negotiable. If you are using Nabucasa, if you want to have your backup in the cloud, that one backup that is always kept in Nabucasa will always have encryption. But also there is one additional change. If, for example, you download backup from this UI, for example, click on three dots and download, the file that is downloaded is always unencrypted or not encrypted. That means that even if the data is encrypted, the file that you store on your local PC, because a lot of people want to download it and, for example, just take one single file out of it, will always be unencrypted. But that's not the only change. For example, previously we were able to select either daily, never or custom days, where you could, for example, tick any day that you want to make a backup of your system. But there was only one time slot, and it was, if I remember correctly, 4:45 AM for everybody. Now you have option to customize this time. It can be system optimal, which is time between 4:45 and 5:45, but you can also select custom. And here you can specify any time during the day. Okay, this is great, we now have much more customization for our backups, but what if we want to create our own backup schedule? What if we want to take charge of the future backups? That's also possible. If you go to Developer Tools, Actions, you now have option to create automatic backup from the actions. If we perform this action here, the system will automatically create an automatic backup based on the configuration of the automatic backup. That means that you can trigger it, for example, from the scripts or from the automations. Just use this backup create automation backup action. But that's not all. With the previous release of backup, we lost part of the functionality that we had previously, and it was reintroduced once again. So let's look at that. For example, backups for the updates of the add-ons and also for the core. This here is the interface of the 2025.1 or January release of Home Assistant. If I click on this add-on, you have no option to backup the add-on. It simply was removed. But with the February release of Home Assistant, if we click on Add-on, we now have also option to tick the box and keep a backup of the last version. It will automatically keep one version or the latest backup available for each of the add-ons. Or for the core system, we also have ability to trigger automatic backup before update. But that's also not all. We also have update to improved file names for backups. If you know how Home Assistant works, for each of the backups we have hash or some random numbers and letters that represent the hash of that backup. This was also changed, but unfortunately still we have one thing that hopefully will be fixed in the future, maybe the next release, and that is the ability to create custom names or add prefix or suffix to each of those automated backups. Let me show you what is the current problem. I have here two folders and I did need to create two folders because of this same reason. If we look at the backup folder, which is the main folder for the main instance of Home Assistant I'm using, we have those random numbers and letters here. Each of those is a backup of specific date or specific period in time. And in this yellow folder, we have new naming. We have automatic backup, then the version, beta 5, year, month, date, and the time, and then the hash for each of the files. But what I cannot do still is to have one single folder that, for example, would have prefix here, main instance, yellow, green, or whatever instances I want to back up here. So while we do now have more understandable names and we know what each name represents or when was the backup made, unfortunately we cannot still pour everything inside one folder and keep everything at one place. But when we are already talking about places and where you can store the backups, this was also expanded. If we check my configuration, configure backup settings, scroll down, you can see that now I have couple more places or couple more locations. We have this system here. This one is the NAS, Home Assistant Cloud and Google Drive. Besides that, we also have Synology integration, which for me currently on beta 6 is still not working, so I'm still using Samba Share or mapped my folder from within Home Assistant. An additional one that is missing is Microsoft OneDrive. So we now have local system, Nabucasa, some Share, Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive, and also Synology. Now let's talk about Assist once again, or voice. First thing is combining the current Assist in Home Assistant with something that was hot last year. Analog meets digital, or digital meets analog. If you remember, I've created previously a video, and if I remember, I will be linking it up here. That was the video on how you can use it for the satellite voice. That is the ability to talk with, for example, assists previously prior to the speakers we now have. Now you can use it to send messages or to call that satellite. How do you do that? We can use Assist Satellite Announce. I will be able to target specific device. This one here because the other one is currently offline, and for example push a message. Since my analog phone is currently somewhere in the box tucked in on another location, I'm not able to show you how it works like that, but we will be using Assist for this one to mimic what you can do. So for example, if your garage door is open, if your front door is left open for 5 minutes, if something is not as it should be, you can push a notification direct to that phone, and then your analog phone would ring. And you would, when you pick up the phone, hear a message, for example, like this one here.
This is a message.
And probably you've seen you also have option to start conversation. Unfortunately, I cannot show you this one since this device that you see here, this one here is offline, not available here, but it would look something like this. Send a message means that the phone would ring, you would pick it up, you would hear kitchen door is unlocked, do you want to lock it? And extra system prompt is based on the answer, lock the kitchen door. Yes is lock it, no is don't lock it. And based on the answer, yes, no, the system would then lock the kitchen door. So you can use this in conversations, and hopefully this is something that will be useful to a lot of you. But there is also ability now to broadcast messages directly from Assist. For example, I could say, hey, broadcast dinner is ready. But that's not all. Besides reading the temperature or hearing the temperature, where we will, for example, ask a question, what is the temperature in the living room, we can now also set it via the Assist. Look at this heat pump here. Hey, set heat pump to 22 degrees. and the temperature is set.
22 degrees.
Plus, there are some other improvements to the assist, local LLMs, AI, whatever you want to call this that we're playing here now. The calendars are now also exposed, or calendars can be exposed to LLMs. That means that the Home Assistant via the assist, via the local LLMs or OpenAI or whatever, can also be hooked up to your calendar and can answer questions based on your calendar. Plus, there was additional work on the functionality that was brought to us in 2024.12 for Home Assistant release, and that is the ability to mix and match. For example, for some things have local assist answer the command, for example, turn on kitchen lights, and then also we can ask a question that is then pushed not to Home Assistant but to cloud services or your local LLM to answer question what is the largest sea in the world, or what is the biggest mountain, or something like that. Now the history between the conversation agent and the LLM can be shared. Why is this also very important, even if you didn't think of the use case? For example, you say to assist, turn on bedroom lights. It would then turn them on. But if you reply, now turn them off, it wouldn't know what to do. With the combo of everything, since the LLMs are now sharing the history with the conversation agent, they would know what to do. Furthermore, we now have support for Model Context Protocol. This is something, and I still think that this is not a mainstream technology, but this is something that could potentially be mainstream if you're using AI or LLMs. This will allow better sharing of the contents to LLMs. I'm not that familiar with it, but I do know that this is a good thing. Home Assistant can now be both MCP server and also MCP client. By the way, if you would like to see demo on how to set up your analog phone with Home Assistant, how to hook it up with Assist, and also how to set up the server for MCP client and play with that, just drop me a line down below. Based on your comments and suggestions, I may just do a video on those too. It wouldn't be a new Home Assistant release if we wouldn't have changes, updates and also new integrations. So here are some of them for this release. We have Homey, Igloo Home, LED pot, which is a very expensive pot, very nice but not that cheap, Overseer, Model Context Protocol Server, which we mentioned just a couple of seconds ago, Model Context Protocol, XBus, Google Drive, OneDrive. These are the two new integrations that allow you to hook up your system with Google Drive, OneDrive, and then use it as a backup client or location where you want to save your backups. And it works awesome. If you would like to see how to set up Google Drive, how to hook it up with Home Assistant, you know the drill. Drop me a comment down in the comment section below, and I will be recording video about that one too. But there are also improvements to the existing integrations. For example, support for Shelly Blue TRV or the Bluetooth edition of the TRV valve. We also have update to Home Wizard plug-in battery, better support for passing devices, and also support for the TP-Link Tapo RoboVax. Plus, two more updates. One is the front-end update that you may not notice now, but is important for the future and future updates of Home Assistant, and also Bluetooth integration has got now its own configuration panel, which is really awesome, but I will not be digging into too much details here. As far as the backward incompatible changes, yeah, there are some of them. For example, Ecovax, lifespan for the main brush, side brush and filter has been deprecated and will be removed or is removed in this release of Home Assistant. KNX options to integrate settings now works as intended when disabled or when enabled. You can now reconfigure the MQTT broker settings. When you do the reconfiguration, it will start the configuration wizard once again. Plus some other that didn't make it into the main release, but as always it is a really good idea to check all of the release notes and check all of the backward compatible changes to see if your system will be impacted by them. And no, as always, this is not it. This is just a glance of what's hot, some main topics, but behind the hood we have a lot of additional changes. Some are just small bug fixes, other are cosmetic changes, but still there are a lot, and I really do mean a lot and a lot of contributions in the February release of Home Assistant. If you want, you can always dig through all of the documentation, check every commit that was made on the GitHub repository to get yourself familiar with what are some of the changes. Before we end up this video, there is also one additional announcement, not by me, but by Home Assistant devs. There will be one additional stream this month. So yeah, check out the schedule for the Home Assistant devs because they will be introducing some new updates to something that a lot of you are interested in. I really do hope that you did find this video interesting. Remember that Home Assistant is released every first Wednesday of the month. That means that this video is recorded on Monday because I try to record them as close as possible to the official release date, but also to be able to release this video at least one day prior so that YouTube channel members can see the video without the ads. That's just one of the perks. If you did like this video, if you did enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up because it really means a lot to me, but it also really helps with the YouTube channel algorithms. If you have any kind of comment, question, suggestion, you can always drop it down in a comment section below. And as always, before I wrap up the video, I would like to say thanks to all those wonderful people that are supporting me and that have become YouTube channel members. Thank you all for all of your support. But let's not forget each and every one of you who has watched, shared, liked or commented on my videos. Thank you. If you too want to support the channel, you can do so by clicking the join button down below and becoming a YouTube channel member for only €2 or $2 per month. Or you can go to my merchandise store and get a t-shirt or hoodie there. Last but not least, you can send me super thanks and I will be super thankful for that. I will be seeing you next time. Until then, bye bye and have fun.